Hey everyone, you are Remo McLean for life once again, and I'm back for more movie reviews for Wesley Snipes, and I'm coming now with the third review for Blade, and of course today I'm going to review and discuss Blade Trinity. This actually just gonna be Rant. Because this movie fucking sucks. I mean, Blade Trinity is the worst movie in the franchise. Now, I love the first two movies. Blade 1 is my favorite. I love Blade. It kicks ass. It's one of the best Marvel movies. My favorite Marvel movie for all time. I reviewed both the films respectfully because I love both of them. And Blade 2 is good as the first one. It kicks ass. Both the movies kicks ass. And Blade 1 and 2 are Wesley Snipes' best movies. And Blade is a badass character, and I love Blade to death. I love the first one, love the second one. I love both of them. I did a review for both the films, and they're on my channel. But now I'm coming with a third review for in the Blade. And honestly, I was not really going to discuss or review this film because I love Wesley Snipes. I'm a huge fan of him. But this movie really fucking sucks. This movie, he really blew it. He fucked up with director David S. Goyer. So Blade Trinity was the third movie in the final movie in the Blade. And sadly, it ended on a bad note. We got this movie and I wish it could have been much better. It was released on 8 December 2004 and this is the last Blade movie. And because of Wesley Snipes' tax invasion, no one wants to work with him anymore. But Wesley Snipes has asked many times, to do the fourth Blade movie. Marvel Studio, but they don't want to have Wesley Snipes anymore as Blade, so they actually hired Mahershala Ali to play Blade, which is gonna be a PG-13, a fucking reboot. Fuck him. Fuck Mahershala Ali. Fuck that garbage movie. That movie will suck. Just like Prey with Predator, it will fucking suck. And yeah, and now Blade Trinity, like I said, was written and directed by David S. Goyer and Wesley Snipes, and of course Chris Christopherson. They both returned, but both of them, they were upset. They were very disappointed and upset with the script because it's a shitty script. It was a shitty writing by David S. Goyer. This is actually his first direction debut, and it sucked. He blew it. I mean, I thought, everyone who watched this movie knew it sucked. There are a few fans, but Blade Trinity doesn't feel like a Blade film. They're actually, the Blade has now a team, and I don't know why he even has a team. He had Bloodpack in the second movie, but they were actually all of them killed except Whistler, which that was awesome. But this movie wasn't even a monster film. It doesn't feel it lacks the CGI, shitty story, terrible writing and direction by David S. Goyer. And Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson, they actually both, were disappointed with the script. The costume for Blade sucked. He has a fucking red sweatshirt over him, a shitty coat in it, shitty glasses, and a shitty rubber gloves in the fucking arm. He fucking sucks in this movie. Wesley Snipes felt bored with this movie, and Wesley Snipes and David S. Goyer fucked up. And this is actually the final movie that ended on a bad note. And I don't know why they had to kill off Whistler once again. So in the first movie, Whistler, he was beaten to death by Deacon Frost, and then he was left for dead. He shot himself with a silver, which it looks like he was bitten. And in the second movie, they resurrected, which the second movie was awesome. They resurrected Whistler back. And only to kill him off once again by FBI, he's been killed off in an explosion. Why? Chris Christopherson was so disappointed because he stated that he didn't know why Blade has to have a team when he could be the only sidekick, just like he was in the first and in the second movie. And I wish that Blade will kick ass in this movie like he did in the first and the second movie, like he did in Blade 1 and 2. In this movie, he didn't kick ass. And I agree with Chris Christopherson. Why killing him off? It was stupid. It was a shitty idea. David S. Goyer didn't know how to write. He didn't know how to direct the film. Stephen Norrington, who directed the first movie, was supposed to come back, and he read the script and he passed the script. He didn't want to do this movie because he knew the script sucked. It was a shitty story. It was a terrible story about Dracula. Why Dracula? It fucking sucked. And yeah, it's just the movie fucking sucks in my opinion. So what happened then? Guillermo del Toro was also asked if he would do this film. But Guillermo del Toro finally got his dream to do Hellboy, which was actually his dream movie he wanted to do. So he passed the script and he chose to do Hellboy instead. Wise decision. No one from the first two directors wanted to have to do anything with the script. So David S. Goyer decided to direct the film, and he blew it. He did a terrible direction. He blew it. The script, the story was shitty. It made no sense. It was way too much CGI. There's barely anything likable in this film. And I don't like this film. You know, I actually think that, to me, they're only Blade 1 and 2. Because this movie was, from the beginning till end, a failure. From the start. The biggest problem was also Wesley Snipes, which he actually did, which he actually caused and suffered from a mental breakdown, and he went in an argument with David S. Goyer, and then he ignored entire cast from the whole production. He ignored them, and he caused problems by that. I mean, he was only responsible through via posts and notes and through his bodyguards and staff. He refused to speak to anyone. And when they asked Ryan Reynolds, he had a terrible experience to do this film. When they asked Ryan Reynolds how was working with Wesley Snipes, he said, "I did not met Wesley Snipes, I met Blade." And through the entire movie, he ignored it. There's only one time when he said, "Keep your mouth shut, you will live longer." That's the only thing that he told him. And through the entire shooting movie, he called him a cracker. Yes, he called Ryan Reynolds a cracker. And when you see in interview, you know, when they ask Ryan Reynolds if he will do another Blade movie, he starts shaking his head, which he had a terrible experience doing this film, and of course, at one point this movie is supposed to be a spin-off called Nine Stalkers, which also didn't happen. And to me, Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, because I love Deadpool 1 too, they were not bad. They really were a good thing about the film. Just Wesley Snipes sucked in this movie. This wasn't Blade. It doesn't feel like Blade movie. It feels like a Night Stalkers. And I still don't know why the fuck they had to do, you know, to kill off Whistler. And then David S. Goyer did a scene in which Chris Christopherson filmed by saying that he actually has a daughter, you know, he tried to manipulate the audience by that scene that was filmed in the first movie, because it wasn't filmed in the first movie, by saying, oh, he had a daughter. So Jessica Biel is now a daughter of Whistler. Why they go and kill off Whistler is beyond me. And Chris Christopherson was disappointed. Now, Wesley Snipes, not only his acting performance, but he felt bored in this movie. He ignored everyone. He ignored the whole cast. He was only responsible through via posts, which that kind of sucks. And he also caused a delay. He was always late on the on the filming. He was mostly in the trailer, and then he was smoking marijuana and all the grass and the joints he was smoking. He was ignoring everyone. He felt bored with this film, and he wasn't even respondable when they called him Wesley. They had to call him Blade. He was only hearing when someone calls him Blade. I mean, this was just from beginning till end. It was terrible. It just was terrible. Even the story was terrible, and I don't think that Ryan Reynolds had a great experience in this film. Now, the story about the Dracula also sucks. I mean, there's also the jokes in the movie that does not work. And we have now Triple H from WWE, who's actually the bad guy. And Dominic Purcell from Prison Break, who plays Dracula, sucked. It was a really shitty story. I mean, how he acted. I mean, he was the worst villain ever. And of course Parker Posey, she was another vampire queen in the fucking film, and how she acted was terrible. Then of course Ryan Reynolds stars as Hannibal King with that beard, and he was terrible. I mean, his acting performance wasn't terrible, just he was terrible when he was joking, through the entire movie. I read that, the comments when someone wrote that he not expected that Ryan Reynolds, he was joking through half of the movie. Or seeing Jessica Biel's best, hottest body, fake Hollywood body, and that he wanted, that Blade kicks ass like he did in the second movie. And also the opening scene when Blade is hunting down another vampire, kills the guy. It turns out he's a human, and says, "You're not turning into ashes." And the guy says, "Because I'm a human, you damn shit." What an idiot, the guy who played. And says, "This is a trap for you." And then FBI starts tracking him down. They go and kill Officer, which fucking sucks. Why killing Officer once again? This sucks. This just really sucks, in my opinion. Why killing Officer? It sucks. And the other thing was the shrinks, when he's by the shrink, and the guy keeps asking such a shitty, lame questions like, "Oh hey, are you sexually oriented?" or those questions about the vampire, so that he's illusional. It fucking sucks. Then Blade gets saved by Abigail Whistler, and Hannibal King, and Parker Posey. She escapes. It was just shitty terrible. The story was terrible. Then they save, Blade. Blade steals from the police headquarters, steals that blade, the sword, steals the sword. He finds the headquarters of Night Stalkers, and all the weapons that Patton Oswalt is making. And Patton Oswalt and another guy are playing basketball in that time, while the Trinity are now searching for Dracula. Dracula finds headquarters, kills everyone, including Natasha Lyonne when she wears the glasses and she's blind. I think he kidnaps that little girl, doesn't kill her, and it was just so stupid. That's just terrible in this goddamn movie. When they all three came back, and I actually think that Ryan Reynolds is kidnapped in this movie, and when Blade and Abigail shows up, and she starts crying, and Wesley's like, "Stone Cold, use it." He's like, "Stone Cold." I mean, fuck you, Wesley, in this movie. Use it. Oh my god. Wesley Snipes was terrible through the whole movie. Oh my god, he was terrible at acting. Oh my god. So, what I forgot to mention, when they actually go prepare for the final battle, just like in the first Blade, which I think this movie kind of copied the first movie. And Abigail Whistler grabs, bow and arrow. And actually, Abigail Whistler, Jessica Biel, when she trained, she turned into a real skilled archer. And she grabbed a bow and arrow, and she fired bow and arrow, and the arrow flied through the lenses and really hit in the camera. It destroyed $300,000 of a camera. They should build her for destroying that camera. But actually, she actually was really skilled, in the bow and arrow. But I think that was awesome. But this movie is supposed to be a Blade movie, not about Hannibal King and Abigail Whistler, or why killing out Whistler. But the final finale, when they go to this headquarters, when Hannibal King was in it, and he goes and somehow with joking, he jokes the entire movie when he's actually tortured. I think he kills Parker Posey, or was Jessica Biel. It's been a long time since I saw this film. But every time I watch this film, I dislike it less than more like it. That's one of the reasons this is a rant on Blade Trinity. It's more a time waster to me, but no, it was a terrible story. They should not kill off Whistler at all. Chris Christopherson, Blade did not need a team at all, and also Dracula should not be in the movie at all. They could have done something different, and they didn't. I wish that Blade Trinity would be a much better movie. I wish it would be a good movie. It sadly wasn't. Because Blade 1 and 2 kicks ass. This does not feel like Blade film. And also back in 2005, when this movie was released, Wesley Snipes sued, he went and he sued New Line Cinema for $5 million, and that was in 2005, claiming, allegedly, that the studio did not live up to its contract, giving him final say on the screenplay and director, Tate Goyer's choice for Blade Trinity. Wesley Snipes said the studio owes him $3.6 million of a promised $13 million upfront fee. He sued them, and that's one of the reasons no one wants to work with him anymore, especially his attitude. His attitude really ruined, by making another Blade movie. He ruined, his attitude ruined, especially how he ignored the entire cast. He ignored them. He was responsible only via post notes or his staff members, his bodyguards. He only responded to the name Blade. He called Ryan Reynolds a cracker the whole fucking movie. He was by days he was in the trailer, or he was smoking pot out of the trailer. He caused the delay for the filming. He didn't care that much. This was just Wesley Snipes' biggest ego's problem. And also the story was problem. The screenplay was terrible. And I'm gonna say that Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel were not bad. They did a good job. They actually did professional job. They really did good job. They are good. They actually were good. I wish this movie could have been a spin-off. Instead, Blade could have been titled Night Stalkers. Instead, Blade Trinity. But Wesley Snipes' performance was absolutely awful. It was awful. His performance was awful. It was just terrible. This doesn't feel like Blade. By the finale, the sword scenes, I did read it that Dominic Purcell did his own sword scenes, and by the end, Wesley Snipes landed in the coma. Yes, he's unconscious, which is the first time I see Blade in unconscious. And Whistler and Abigail Whistler and Hannibal King find him, leaves him behind. And he wakes up next day, he's on a motorcycle, and both of them, they actually ignores him that he's even alive. That scene is sucked. Now, Blade Trinity you can get unrated version, but doesn't make any justice to the movie. In time it's rated there, it's just not a good movie at all. Yeah, there's some action sequences in the film, but they are shitty, terrible done. And it doesn't feel like a monster film. It just isn't. Doesn't do a satisfying, or justice to the trilogy. I really wish that movie could have ended on a better note, but it ended on a bad note. The jokes did not work. The shrink jokes also did not work. Or when they found hybrids of vampires, did not work. Or when Wesley Snipes says a baby, he goes, "Gucci gucci." It does not work. That just does not work. It's just terrible direction. David S. Goyer didn't know what the fuck he was doing. The writing story was terrible. The story sucked. And this movie cost $65 million. It was even more expensive than the first two Blade movies. It made $131 million, but still, Blade Trinity made money, but it still did not do justice to the trilogy. Did not do justice to Blade, because this movie is supposed to be Blade, not Night Stalkers. It's supposed to be Wesley Snipes. Blade did not need a fucking team. He had Bloodback in Blade 2, and the entire cast, entire team was killed off. And this movie, Hannibal and Abigail, they took over the film. It feels like they both. It feels that both of them, they actually, it thinks like moving more focus on both of them. And I know that there is Abigail when she uses a bow and arrow and kills vampires and uses on the station, but that's supposed to do Blade, or Blade's supposed to not be captured by FBI and the cops. He never should be captured. Or the jokes with the shrink, it just doesn't work. It just step back from the first two movies. And it's really lame film. It just doesn't feel like a Blade movie. And I keep saying this and repeating over and over because this is not Blade movie. And like I said, Blade, the Blade 1 and 2, the only one that's actually counted, because this movie just does not count as a Blade film. And this is more Wesley Snipes' problems. And I really actually despise and dislike this film. I don't hate it, but I dislike this film. And Blade Trinity just isn't that much good of a film at all. I mean, Triple H is a terrible villain. Parker Posey with those dogs, or there are a few dogs in it, just like from Resident Evil, just doesn't work. The costume for Wesley Snipes does not work. His acting performance is wooden. Yes, he's wooden. He feels like bored in the film, and or he's like, use it. I mean, even this is not Blade movie, and I think that Wesley Snipes could have done a much better job, but no, he fucked up. I mean, this is his biggest ego problem, and he goes and ignores the entire cast. I mean, Jesus, man, the direction by David S. Goyer was terrible. The only thing that I liked about this film was by the sword fight scene when Dracula asks Blade, "Are you ready to die?" "I was born ready, motherfucker." That's the only scene that I like. The only line I like in the film. "Blade, are you ready to die?" "I was born ready, motherfucker." I like that scene, or that song that was played on the end of credits. That scene, I like that scene. There are a few soundtracks I liked it, but I did not wrote it down because I'm really not gonna watch this movie again for a long time. I won't watch it. I have not watched this movie for a while, but I remember, everything behind the scenes, the problems, what was with this film, and why it could have been much better film than it was. and this movie showed more focus on Blade. He didn't need a team at first and at all. Whistler was enough. That played by Chris Christopherson. It was enough. I mean, why killing him off once again? The ending, then the movie makes no sense. I mean, why then Whistler and King leaves Wesley Snipes' Blade? Or why not taking him? I mean, they're supposed to be Blade Trinity, but they thought, what, he's dead, so they both abandon him while he wakes up. You know, I'm glad that Wesley Snipes doesn't, that his character is not killed in the movie, you know, but this is just really sad, you know, it's really sad how this movie ended on a sad note. It's really sad. I wish this movie could have been much better. But yeah, Wesley Snipes had a fallout with New Line Cinema, and now no one, you know, since alleged tax invasion, you know, no one wants to work with Wesley Snipes anymore. So that's really sad. And Wesley Snipes is ready to do another Blade movie, but no, they don't want to cast him. They cast now Mahershala Ali as Blade, and they're gonna do, MCU is gonna do, you know, a new reboot of Blade, which is gonna suck. We already have Blade 1998. Why to do another shitty reboot? Because I'm not gonna like it at all. And yeah, Wesley Snipes, he did give a blessing to Mahershala Ali to be cast as Blade, but this is not what I want to see, what us fans want to see. And Blade Trinity could have ended on a good note, but it's just really sad how it ended. And you know, Blade Trinity, I'm not really a fan. I do have the movie on Blu-ray. It's a handmade. It's actually a handmade Blu-ray cover in it. And I do have an unrated version, but I'm not gonna watch it or show it because I'm not really a fan of this film. But I love the first two movies. I love. I mean, Blade the first is my favorite. Then Blade 2, because they're both my favorite Wesley Snipes movies. My favorite vampire film, my favorite horror film. I love the character. Blade simply kicks ass, but Blade Trinity doesn't kick ass, doesn't do justice to the first two Blade movies. And now this movie came out 2004. So it's been now 18 years and we haven't seen any Blade movies so far. I think Wesley Snipes could have done, you know, he could have done, but no, because he actually got a mental breakdown, you know, he suffered from a mental breakdown, and because of his attitude and towards director and writer David S. Goyer, towards the studio, because he sued them back in 2005 for $5 million, claiming allegedly they did not actually live up to the contract, that he didn't get a say on the script, and director David S. Goyer for the Blade Trinity, he sued them for $5 million, and he claimed that they owed him $3.6 million in his salary of his upfee, $13 million up front. And that's what he claimed, you know, that's what the director, you know, that's what Wesley Snipes claimed. And because he was for days in the trailer, he was smoking pot, he ignored the entire cast, and he was only responsible to via post notes, you know, and because this happened with Wesley Snipes when he suffered a mental breakdown, and he was only listened and was responsible on the name Blade, you know, that's just terrible. And he treated so shitty entire cast, including Ryan Reynolds, by calling him cracker. He entirely mistreated the cast, and this was a doomsday, a failure from beginning, from the start till the end. And it was Wesley Snipes the most fought, and David S. Goyer's shitty writing, shitty story. Dominic Purcella's Dracula sucked. Yeah, he sucked. He was a terrible villain, and he sucked. I hated Dracula in this movie. It was a terrible. It was terrible. There are few action scenes, but they to me does not work. They don't do justice to the film. Wesley Snipes is supposed to kick ass, and he kicks little ass. And I actually read that he kills only 46 vampires the whole movie, and this is the biggest letdown and lone count that Wesley Snipes killed them. You know, this is the worst movie in the franchise, and he simply, you know, it's the lowest point. You know, he simply kills kills less vampires in the whole 3 movies. This is the lowest list of the vampires where Blade killed them. And even the sword fight scenes, you know, to me doesn't do justice. Wesley Snipes was terrible. I hated his costume. I hated his performance. Use it. Fuck you, Wesley Snipes. You suck in this movie. I hated his shitty glasses. I hated his costume. I mean, Jesus, man, this was bad from the beginning. Blade Trinity was a terrible movie. And this came out in December 2004. It cost them even more than the first 2 movies. It was $65 million and made, what, $131 million. I think, I actually don't remember, I remember that the first 2 movies did not cost that much money. I think that was the first and the second movie that cost $45 million. This is $65 million, which is the most expensive, you know, and they did such a mess of a film. This is a mess of a film. It was a pile of shit of a film. It was a mess of a film. But I think, like I said, the biggest problem was David Goyer and Wesley Snipes. They actually ruined this movie. This is a failure of a movie. But like I said, Jessica Biel and Wesley Snipes, Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds did a good job. They were only one that were capable enough to carry this movie on. But this is not what we fans wanted to see. We wanted to see Blade kicking ass, just like he did in Blade 1 and 2. And not the entire movie, Ryan Reynolds is making jokes. And Abigail, and of course Jessica Biel's hottest body through the whole movie. I mean, this just doesn't make justice to this film. It's definitely the worst one of the 3. But yeah, Blade Trinity just does not work in my opinion. I just didn't know what else to say, you know, about this movie, because this movie really sucks. But the first 2 movies, the first Blade, I love to death. I love the second. I love both of them. You know, Blade 2 kicks ass. Even Blade kicks ass. You know, and I'm a fan of both of the films. But this just wasn't really, you know, good at all. There's nothing likable except that line when Wesley Snipes says, you know, when Dracula asks him, Blade, are you ready to die? I was born ready, motherfucker. That's the only line that I liked in the film. Where that time when Blade and Dracula go and fight each other, this just was terrible. That Posey girl, Parker Posey, sucked in this movie from Scream. She sucked as a vampire. The jokes by Ryan Reynolds does not work. I mean, the same thing was with Green Lantern. It did not work. Deadpool 1 and 2 are definitely two the best films Ryan Reynolds did. I would rather watch Deadpool 2 than Blade Trinity. The CGI scenes also does not work in the film. The story is shitty. Killing off Whistler was the biggest mistake again. And then the Chris Christopherson returns once again, which you find out that it wasn't him. It was actually Dominic Purcell as Dracula's disguise, you know, as Whistler. That just sucks. Yeah, through the whole movie, even the car in the movie, you know, when you see that he jumps off the trailer, it sucks. Or the guy screaming open, because I'm not a vampire, I'm a human, you dumb shit! I was, fuck you, man. I mean, this is just terrible. Even rated R, it just does not work. Blade Trinity does not work, man. It just does not work at all. And no, I don't like this film. And I could say it's a time waster. It's not a time waster, it's just lame. It's just a lame, terrible movie. I mean, there's nothing much to say about the Blade Trinity. You know, there's everyone. There are a few fans, but I'm not one of them. I'm gonna go more for Blade 1 and 2. Blade 2, definitely Blade 1 is my favorite. And also Blade 2 is my second favorite because I love both of them. And like I said, in the Blade 1, I love Deacon Frost, Queen, and Mercury, and who was already, and of course the actress who played, I think was Vanessa Brooks who played, or was the other actress, Vanessa Brooks. She was the mom of Blade. You know, I like the actress who played Vanessa Brooks in the first movie, or Gwen, or Gwen, or Mercury, you know, or Deacon Frost, which I love that. The first movie kicks ass. The second movie also kicks ass. The second movie is my favorite Guillermo del Toro's movie. I mean, it's a badass movie, the second one. Especially those monsters, or Nomad, you know, which I love that. The Reapers. The second movie is a badass, is a phenomenal, it's a kick-ass movie. Sadly, Blade Trinity is not. But that's my rant on Blade Trinity. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'm out. Peace.